If someone's feelings are hurt, if anyone gets hurt in setting a boundary, it's not something that I have to try so hard to avoid because hurt is for them. Hurt
Oh, that's
is
most yeah.
yeah. If there is hurt that comes up, it's coming up for a reason. That's something that needs to be healed. I'm no longer so concerned with trying to make sure I don't hurt anyone. It's like, okay, you know what? If it happens, then it happens. And that's amazing because then that's something that gets to be healed in myself or in another.
Yeah. And you're actually, hurting the other person more by not allowing them to have their hurt. Whatever they choose to do with that hurt, that's on them. But it might be after the 10th or 15th time they're getting hurt, they might wake up and go, oh my God, I need to look at this. Good morning, guys. We are your hosts, Lori.
And Shanice, certified spiritual life coaches, and we're so glad you're here. Welcome to Coaching Sessions, a series here on Branching In, where we coach you through various life challenges.
Yes, and we'd also love it if you just take a moment to subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us to have your support as we continue to spread more self-awareness. So today's episode, we're going to share some of the beliefs we carried that have prevented us from setting boundaries. And you guys, stay tuned to the end because that's where we will share a coaching exercise to help you uncover the limiting beliefs that are preventing you from setting boundaries.
Yes. So let's start by defining a boundary. Boundaries are the limits we set for ourselves in relationships, work, and personal life to protect our well being and maintain a sense of self. They define what we are comfortable with, how we allow others to treat us, and what actions we'll take if someone oversteps them.
Yes, and boundaries help us form a clear distinction between where we end and where another person begins, really allowing us to engage with others while staying true to ourselves.
How important is that?
And I love that.
Yeah.
So to start this out, we want to share a couple personal experiences, why we wanted to create this episode.
Yeah.
And, where we did get stuck in setting boundaries. And for me, I was in a very emotionally and physically abusive relationship for quite some time. And a belief that I discovered I had was that I had to stay, Shanice, at all costs. And relationships are hard and others come before me. Those were some of the things that I discovered that were keeping me from setting a boundary to something that was very emotionally and physically not good for me. But I knew I wasn't comfortable. I didn't feel good, but I couldn't leave it until I realized these beliefs, I have to stay at all costs and relationships are hard and others come before me. Those limiting beliefs, what was running unconsciously.
And what was keeping you there?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. Yes, I can definitely relate, Lori. I mean, we've talked about this a lot in many of our previous podcast episodes. So I relate to that. And so mine is similar. I'm Hispanic. I'm Puerto Rican. I was born in Puerto Rico. And so I grew up in that culture where family is everything. You know, you do anything for family. You drop whatever you're doing if a family member needs you. It was very revolved around family. And I loved that. I grew up in that very loving environment. But it came with those those beliefs that I just said. Family is everything. Growing up, I'm like, that's so amazing. I love that belief. Family is everything. And as I got older, I realized that was also the belief that was preventing me from setting boundaries with family. Just having any personal boundaries at all. That didn't exist, you know? And so really having to realize that as much as there was beauty in the way that I grew up in my culture and everything revolving around family, I also had a lot of beliefs that I had to undo so that I could have a sense of self and start setting personal boundaries in my life. And that was really difficult. That was
Yeah.
a really difficult thing for me to do. Yeah.
Yeah, I can relate. Um, and it's interesting because as you're talking, it's like, yeah, I did not come from a huge family that way, but I was also brought up with that similar family can do anything at all costs. And to set boundaries with other people in my life was acceptable, but setting boundaries with family members was absolutely not acceptable. They're family,
Yeah. It's family. What? Boundaries and family? What?
but it's family.
Yeah.
And so that I can relate to that, and that I feel like a lot of people can relate to because there is a lot of pressure with family and relationships in general,
Mhm.
to meet that status quo. And it took us not understanding this until we saw this limiting belief that was running, like what was keeping us there. And
Mhm.
these were some of the limiting beliefs that we just talked about that were keeping us there. So, what exactly prevented us in these two scenarios that made it so hard, Shanice, for us to set boundaries?
One of them for me was focusing on how the other person was going to feel about the boundary, like feeling afraid to say no. That was a really big one because I'd always been the person that other people could go to, could count on. So I never felt like I could say no. And I didn't want to let anybody down.
Yeah, same,
Yeah.
same, yeah. And worrying about like how they're gonna feel about it and what they're gonna say, like again, putting our feelings in the background, like their feelings are first. And
Yeah.
how are they gonna feel? Which that really prevented me from setting a boundary.
Mhm. And also the fear that everything would crumble because I was a big part of keeping everything running smoothly, as the oldest sibling. So being afraid that everything would fall apart if I, wasn't doing everything possible
You
to
had a
keep.
role.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, that was my role. So there was also that fear. Like I didn't want anyone to be inconvenienced. I didn't want anyone to get behind. So I would just do whatever I needed to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know another thing for me, Shanice, preventing me from setting boundaries in general was just minimizing other people's actions. Like, something would happen. I'm like, oh, well, they're having a bad day, or, it's okay. We'll see, this will be better tomorrow. Like, and continually doing that, like over and over.
Yeah. Yeah. And also seeing what they're doing. But it's like, well, what can I do? Like, what are you going to do about it? The boundary wasn't even anything that I knew existed. So that wasn't even an option for me. Not once did I think, oh, well, maybe I should walk away or, oh, maybe I just don't want to do this anymore. That was not an option. It was just like, well, what am I going to do? Just keep it going.
Yeah.
What's the next thing I can do to maybe help the situation or to make this person feel better? Boundaries were not in my vocabulary.
No, mine neither. I just thought this is the way it's supposed to feel. This is called sacrifice.
Yes,
Right?
exactly.
Self-sacrifice. And that's what you do for relationships as well as family.
Mhm.
And yeah, that was obviously with that thought process very hard to set a boundary. And there would be like a lot of panic and fear and guilt, a lot of guilt. Yes, my family, very good at that. So that was what I was avoiding. I was avoiding that guilt that would come in by doing what I felt would feel better for me, but there was just so much guilt to do
Yeah,
it, right?
yeah. And another really big one for me too is I would always bring it back to me. I'm like, well, maybe it's me. Maybe it's something I'm doing. Like, wait, is it me? Am I the crazy one? I was always questioning myself because I didn't trust myself.
Yeah, agreed.
Right, I had you it's really hard to be able to trust yourself if you have no boundaries in your life, like, my inner self knew it couldn't trust me because I had 0 I just let anyone and everyone walk all over me all the time. That was just my reality, that's just what was, and so it was constantly like, "Oh, well, maybe it's me, maybe it's not them, maybe I could have said this differently, or maybe I could have portrayed that differently." It was just constantly putting it on myself.
Well, and it makes sense, Janice, because, I did the same, is because if you're like the odd person in the family kind of stepping out and doing something different, you do feel like, I okay? Is it me? Because nobody else is doing anything about it. So
Yeah.
if nobody else is reacting or or at least they're not showing that. I mean, they probably are on the inside, but they're just keeping that to themselves or whatever they're doing. So to voice that or make a stand and take an action feels really uncomfortable,
Yeah.
like really uncomfortable. And you do start questioning and distrusting your decision, even though in your gut it feels right, but you question it because why isn't anybody else doing this?
Yes. Yes. It's a very lonely feeling being in that, wondering if anyone else is feeling the same way. And even in the situations where I knew other people were feeling the same way, it was almost like taboo to do anything about it. It's like, oh, well, you talk about how much it sucks, but you suck it up and you go on about your day. Like that was
Everybody
just,
else is.
yeah, exactly. That was the norm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, right. Okay. Well, onwards.
And you know what? And we had our own insecurities because before doing any deep inner work and healing within ourselves, to stand on your own 2 feet like that is almost nearly impossible.
Mhm.
Like with
For sure.
like I know for me, there was too much insecurity. I needed too much reassurance
Mhm.
from outside of myself,
To have like, yeah.
Yes. And
No.
nobody was reassuring me because they were all on the other side of this.
Mhm.
So how could I? And I couldn't do it on my own because I wasn't secure enough within. And just very preventable, keeping me from setting a boundary.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. So for the people listening, to better understand how your unconscious beliefs and programs are running your thoughts, feelings, and actions, check out our belief workbook. The link is in the description.
Yeah, we'll get into that again at the end, but it's life changing.
Right.
That's how Shanice and I have become aware of the beliefs that we're talking about in the beginning, like relationships are hard, or, I do not come first, everybody comes before me. That book that we created, the workbook, helps helped me see the limiting beliefs, those beliefs that I was carrying.
Yeah, we literally went through all of our limiting beliefs, Lori,
Yes.
and we organized them into categories. So you will see all the limiting beliefs that we have had when it comes to feelings or unconscious beliefs or boundaries. So many amazing examples to help you become aware of some of the limiting beliefs that are running your life. Amazing. I definitely recommend you guys checking it out.
Absolutely.
So, Lori, so what did that experience teach us?
Well, what we were just saying, this experience taught me I had beliefs that were not for me. Obviously, physically and abusive, any type of relationship is not for me. Hello. So that is a big one for me.
Yes. So, when I got to the point where I started becoming aware of my limiting beliefs, started practicing setting boundaries, that was like that time in my life, I realized that I was still incredibly enmeshed with my family. That was the beginning of that awareness. I'm like, oh, well, no wonder I'm having such a hard time setting a boundary. I'm so enmeshed with them, which means their well-being is my well-being. Their pain is my pain. I didn't want to set a boundary because I didn't want to do anything to hurt them because that was like me hurting me. And so I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I've got a lot of work to do in this area.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning of that work, is
Yeah.
slowly pulling myself apart from the entanglements of being enmeshed with my family so that I could learn how to be my own person.
Yeah. Yeah. There was no separation. There was no clear definition of where another began and where it ended. Yes. Yeah. And like I was saying earlier, about my insecurities, what this really taught me is that I had to work on myself. Because in order to be able to do this, I had to be able to stand on my own 2 feet. I had to look for myself, for my own reassurance, trust my inner self, my gut that was always leading the way and telling me for the better of me that
Mhm.
I was, how would anybody else know better for me? That I was always looking outside of myself. That was hugely what it taught me.
Yes.
And when I could trust in myself and go within, that's what it really taught me is that's the work I really needed to do is to create more self-worth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and without self-love, I mean, what else you got? You know what I mean? I didn't see how I was abandoning myself because of there was no self-love.
Yeah.
So I didn't see I literally was abandoning myself.
Oh my God. I mean, self love has been the thing that really strengthened the boundaries. I feel like self love helped us create boundaries and then helped us maintain those boundaries and strengthen them and get better at using them over time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a powerful key, self love. So, another thing that this experience taught me was realizing, especially as I started to put that distance as I'm trying to figure out, okay, realizing I'm enmeshed, realizing, well, then, who am I outside of my family dynamic? And when feeling, because you mentioned guilt, I was racked with guilt, my God. And so one thing that helped me with that was asking myself, would I want this for my children?
Mhm.
Now, what kind of relationship do I want my children to have with themselves? And realizing that I would want them to, feel comfortable setting boundaries, even if it made me uncomfortable. And so that really helped me let go of the guilt. And it was just my way of giving myself permission, really, to be like, no, this is okay. I can do this. I can set some boundaries. It's not going to kill me.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And even if I had to mumble my way through it or stutter my way through it, because, setting a boundary is still uncomfortable for me. That's okay. That's okay. Just
Yeah.
keep going.
Yeah, it's definitely same, Shanice. It's not always that comfortable for me, depending on the situation or the closeness of the relationship is really what makes the difference. But it did also teach me that in setting a boundary, I really have to take the action as well as not just put the words out there. I actually have to do the next step and fully implement that
Mhm.
and do that. And that again is going to require a lot of whatever is going to come in. I got to let it be. Like,
Mm.
I can't, I would have to be good with no matter what happens. That's what it'll be. But I have to take the action and have the courage to do that.
Yeah. And when you take that action, how the other person reacts is not our business. Right,
Right.
Laura?
Yeah. And that gets rid of the guilt, right? Because that was what we both felt is, and I'm sure most people do. It's very human like to feel all this guilt from, you don't want others to feel bad, but that's for them. And it's not for you. Like you said, it's none of our business. And
Mhm.
actually, it's very helpful for them. Because I know even for myself, if someone has to disappoint me for themselves, that's good for me to feel that uncomfortable. I do need to be able to handle that,
Yes.
right? And regulate my emotions. That's an important skill
Mm.
to be able to do.
Yes,
So it's for us. It really is.
it really is. And so, how has it led to the level of awareness we have today?
Well, for me, I realize this unawareness of these limiting beliefs have kept me repeating the same cycles until that's why we talk about this belief workbook, why we created it.
Yeah.
Because without that, without even knowing, it's so unaware, it's just on repeat, on autopilot. So that's
Yeah.
huge.
I mean, how can you change what you don't know?
Right.
You can't.
You
You
can't.
So awareness is the first step to breaking those cycles. Yeah.
Yes.
Um one thing for me, a level of awareness that I have now is I can trust myself. I can
Mm.
trust myself to keep myself safe. That has been revolutionary for
It's
me. Lori.
so yes. Oh my, doesn't it feel so good?
It does. I try sometimes. I will because it's like I'm so proud of how far I've come and the relationship that I've cultivated with myself. And I look back, at just a few years ago and I'm like, damn, it's like night and day.
I look back just a few months ago. It's amazing. You know what I mean? Like keep evolving, even in a short distance of
Mm.
time. It's amazing. Yeah. And because Shanice, you can trust yourself, you don't have to ask for permission. You don't have to like go, is it okay with everybody if I do this? Is everybody gonna feel good with this? Because of course there's gonna be hands saying, no, I'm not. And then what do you do?
Yes. Yes. Or explaining. No more that
Oh
need to like, oh, well, I'm going to set the boundary, but let me explain why I'm setting it. And
no.
my way of like trying to manage the damage, still trying to like grip and control outcomes. And it's like, oh, no more.
Yeah, still like looking at how I can possibly not fully upset this other person.
Yes, exactly.
But honestly, you know what's so weird is like I've got it's like I have to practice it. The more I do it, like when I can't go to something or whatever. In the past, I'd always give this whole like laundry list of why. I don't even say anything anymore.
No, right?
Like it's weird and it feels so. I'm like I catch myself and I'm like I can't make it today. And
Yeah.
I and I'm like, "Okay, bye." It feels good.
It does. It's amazing. It feels amazing, Lori. Honestly, I will celebrate those small little moments where I'm like, "Look at me go. I just said no without a single explanation or without giving a reason.
I
Check
think that
it
was a
out."
big one
And I'll
for
do a
me.
little happy dance for
Yeah,
myself. I'm
yeah.
like, "Yeah,
That
celebrating the
that
small moments."
was a turning point, like a huge turning point. That came right at the end for me of the boundary setting. is like, I
Mm,
feel like that was my last phase of as practicing at this point
yeah.
of where I am,
Mhm.
is that over explaining and
Mhm.
not saying why. Like, okay, first you learn, that you need a boundary, then start setting a boundary and then take the action to do it. And then in the action step, I was still keeping there the explaining.
Yeah, me
That
too.
was the last, like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
No, I know exactly what you're saying. Yes, I experience the same thing, and I don't wanna speak for anyone else, but it almost seems to be one of the last barriers that
Yeah.
someone overcomes in this journey of learning how to set boundaries with others. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
For sure. And
Um,
another one for me, another really big one that has really helped me, especially dealing with any guilt or not wanting to hurt someone's feelings, is if someone's feelings are hurt, if anyone gets hurt in setting a boundary, it's not something that I have to try so hard to avoid because hurt is for them. Like
yeah,
hurt
that's what I was
is
yeah.
yeah. It's beneficial. So if there is hurt that comes up, it's coming up for a reason. That's something that needs to be healed. So I'm no longer so concerned with trying to make sure I don't hurt anyone. It's like, okay, you know what? If it happens, then it happens. And that's amazing because then that's something that gets to be healed in myself or in another.
Yeah. And you're actually, hurting the other person more by not allowing them to have their hurt. Whatever they choose to do with that hurt, that's on them. But it might be after the 10th or 15th time they're getting hurt, they might wake up and go, oh my God, I need to look at this. Like, why is this, whether they do or not, it doesn't matter, but they could.
It's an invitation.
Yes, it's an invitation, Shanice. And so either way, I'm standing in the way of something for them that
Mhm.
it's not hurt is not bad and that we have to really reframe.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we have, which has also created this great a level of awareness we have today, which is amazing. And really for me, Shanice, is everyone is on their own journey. You know what I mean? This is a
Exactly.
journey. It's not a destination, it's a journey. Everybody's on their own and not get so caught up in that.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
get out
Like,
of their
just
lane.
staying true to our journey and letting other people walk theirs without trying to control how they walk it or no, just be true to yourself and then let the pieces fall where they may,
Exactly.
honestly. Yeah. Yes. So we have an awareness coaching exercise for you guys, and you can find this assignment in the description to revisit at your convenience.
Yes. So, what we did is here's an example of a limiting belief that prevented us from setting a boundary. And then the thriving belief we replaced it with to maintain a healthy boundary. So, I'll give the example, Shanice, of the limiting belief, and you'll give the thriving belief. So, the limiting belief is it's harder to say no when I feel bad for someone. It's
Mhm.
harder to say no when I feel bad for someone. That's the belief.
That is definitely one I've struggled with.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's hard enough setting a boundary, but let's say the other person is maybe going through a rough time in their life and you're feeling bad for them and you're like, I don't want to set this boundary. You want to protect them from it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the thriving belief to that limiting belief is I must sometimes disappoint others to be true to myself. And that's okay. It's
So
easier said than done.
it is, but when we get through the a level of awareness that we just talked about on this episode is that the hurt and the pain is for us, that
Mhm.
makes it way smoother.
Yeah. Yeah, it really does. So here is the coaching exercise. Step one. What boundary are you having a hard time setting? What beliefs do you have around that boundary? And if you would like, journal about anything that comes up for you when answering those questions.
Yeah. And then in step 2, how do these beliefs prevent you from setting the boundary?
Great
Um,
fairness question.
yeah,
Oh,
huge. This is
amazing.
kind of what we did with the ones we talked about today that brought this all out.
Yeah.
And then in step 3, Shanice, go ahead.
Yeah. So use your imagination to visualize an empowering belief that would help you set that boundary. So,
Yeah.
what can you replace any limiting beliefs that you realize are in your mind? How can you replace it with a belief that serves you and helps you instead?
Yeah.
So, start to use your imagination, visualize.
I love that. Okay. Well, To wrap this up, Shanice, in this episode, we shared our experiences of what prevented us from setting boundaries. We uncovered the blocks that were getting in the way and explained how what we've learned led to the awareness we have today.
Yes. And if you'd like to go beyond visualizing a new belief and learn the process of creating an empowered belief, click the link in the description to purchase our belief workbook today. And for anyone who would like to learn more about boundaries, we dive into it in our Boundary a la carte course, and you can click the link in the description for more details. And that's it for this episode. If this episode spoke to you, give us a thumbs up down below, subscribe, and share it with someone you think would benefit from it. And thank you guys for listening to Branching In with Shanice.
And Lori, join us for our next episode. We post on Fridays. See you guys then. Bye.